Hello, everybody. It's Clint. Welcome to Sweetcast. What I'm doing is actually preparing a presentation that I'm going to be giving in about a week at a library. I've done this before, and it was before I was doing comics. It was when I had, a couple novels out. One of which incredibly it's just terrible. Second one I think is okay, but back then I would talk about self-publishing. There was a lot of interest in that. And here in the state of Utah, there's actually a really big I don't want to say community, but writing like young adult fiction is really big here. And there's a lot of really well-known authors that come out of Utah, and there's also many that you probably don't know their names, but they write a lot of stuff, like really accomplished authors from Utah. And so that's interesting. I've met a few, not super well or anything like that, but it's big. So what I'm doing here is trying to prepare what exactly I'm going to say, and part of that is trying to convince somebody that's into the printed storytelling, and convince them to try out comic books and why comic books are so great. And for me, I think part of that is the story of getting into comics. That is always important to have sort of a story. That's one thing I've taken from crowdfunding. And so this is my working title right now, making comics without permission. I kind of want to talk about comics as a medium, why it's so great, start out there. Then I want to talk about why it's so difficult for people to get into comics, versus just publishing a novel, which again, there's tons of people not even self-publishing, though they're also self-publishing, but they're getting publishing contracts, in some cases making very good money off of publishing books, especially for young adults. There's other age groups as well, but it's big here. So how do I convince them that comics are an awesome medium? And I think I can do that. I'm not too worried about that. But part of it is forming story. So when I kind of think about it, though, and explaining everything that comic books are, it feels super strange. Like the landscape in comics right now is so odd to explain to somebody that doesn't know anything about it. They'd be like, "What is going on?" It's hard to explain. So I'm actually trying to figure out what to gloss over. What's not important? I want you to be interested in the medium. If you're not following comic book professionals on Twitter and you don't really care, you don't have the loyalty to Marvel or DC, because frankly, you've probably seen movies, Spider-Man and Batman movies. But if you're not reading comic books, now basically I'm just introducing you to the medium. I don't need to convince you to like superhero fare in order to give comics a shot. So that's actually the angle I'm going to take, is that you don't need it at all. You can have great storytelling. You don't even need Marvel and DC. Let's start from scratch here. Why not? So I interesting kind of side note. Today I was convincing my son that he should read some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comics. I think he's starting to understand how cool comics can be. Trying to get him into more. He's done some comics reading. Like, you got to read some of these. Some of these are just, they're fun. They're great. And so I've been, he read the first one. I got him into it. And then my daughter started asking questions. And she said, "Dad, are there any girl turtles?" And I said, "Well, kind of." And I started thinking about the history. Technically, yeah, and there's kind of this new one now, but, it's. And then my wife actually interrupted and said, "If there was a girl turtle, would you want to read it? Would you want to start reading it?" And my daughter said, "No." She said, "Okay, then." And it wasn't like it wasn't like it was like, "Hey, I need to be included in this." It was just sort of a question, a very innocent question from a young child about it. And it was just sort of interesting to see it play out. Anyway, so my point around that is that I think most people looking at comics as a medium don't have the baggage that you and I have. I think that I am very sensitive to anything that could be politically charged in comic books, because I'm used to looking for it, but I'm also fed up with it. And so kind of have to divorce myself from that for a minute and say, if you are a total regular person who's actually into reading books, we're already halfway there. That's a big part of the battle. If you enjoy reading books, printed material, buying books, you have a bookshelf, you get some satisfaction in reading a story and closing it and moving on to the next story. That's actually a good place to start from. And I think that's a little bit easier of a sell than if you are, just watching movies and I'm trying to get you to read. So what I want to do is talk about the medium, why it's great, what benefits it has. I think that it combines aspects that you get from reading a novel with perhaps film and television kind of stuff, because you have the great visuals. You can show, don't tell in ways that you can't do in either of those media. And so it really is a fantastic thing. Then I want to hit them with the story of what it's like to break into comics, why it's so difficult. And I'm going to put in a quote from Mark Waid in here as well, which is going to be like, I'll find the exact quote, but breaking into comics is sort of like breaking out of prison. Once someone finds a way, because everyone else tries to go through, the way becomes shut, so you have to find a brand new way, something like that. I'll look up the exact quote, but I'm going to quote Mark Waid in here because that's a bit how it works, and you get less of the helping hand. But I think things have actually been getting better as far as that goes. I've gotten a lot of helping hands myself. So ultimately, it's about the story too. I want to pitch my story, and hopefully, the point here is not so much to get people to buy my comic books the day that I give this speech. This is my theory for conventions as well. I think if you can make an impact on somebody and get their contact information, like a mailing list, get them on a mailing list, then you're in a really good place. If they buy a book from you, that's fantastic. But being able to meet them initially and get some kind of contact information is huge, because then down the road, who knows, they'll hear about your crowdfunding campaign and they might get interested. And I think that's probably that's the angle I'm going to take anyway for in-person sort of appearances. So same kind of theory. Know, like, and trust. Want to get them to know, like, and trust me, at least know me a little bit, like me a little bit, like me enough, and trust me enough to be able to give me an email address and or buy a comic book. From there, it's up to the books to sort of fulfill the promise, to hold up my end of the bargain, and hopefully they come back again for the next book. That's the plan. So I'm curious, if you were giving a presentation to a group of normies who potentially are interested in reading and clearly are somewhat interested in comics because they've come to hear you speak on it, what would you say to get them to read comics? That's an interesting one. Stan Lee seemed to do a good job of it, and maybe that's what I need to challenge a little bit of, is make it sound really exciting. All right, so getting into sort of the back end of this, I realize that my videos have been really sporadic lately, and I apologize for that. I want to be talking comics. That's the focus here. Things have been getting really busy. Downcast 3 should be coming very soon. The book is completely printed. The covers are printed. They're in the binding process right now. So as the covers and the interior pages are being bound, we will start to see some Downcast Volume 3s come in, and as soon as that happens, I'm going to be shipping. And that should be awesome. I cannot wait to get these books out. I think people are going to really like them. This third volume I'm super proud of too. I think you're going to like it. So that's the plan there. I talked a little bit with an artist about Dracula. Plans keep getting pushed back for Dracula, but we've got sort of the early stages. When I have some solid art to show you, I'll make an announcement about who the artist is and what the plans are for that. But it is pretty early stage right now, again, because everything has had to be pushed back. Fatal Charlie's working really hard on it. I've seen some great pages come through. We're going to keep pressing forward, and I can't wait to ship that out. Not sure exactly when it's going to ship. I hate to give you a deadline when I've done that three times now. and we've surpassed that because of things going wrong. That has essentially been 2021 for me. That has been the story, is things have gone wrong. But things are making forward progress, and so that's really good. If you're a backer of Fatal, I'd feel pretty good right now. It is making some great progress, and the book looks fantastic. Charlie's doing, I mean, he's knocking it out of the park. So thank you everybody for watching. Really appreciate it. Let me know how this is going to go. I'm trying to decide if I should record it or not, or just let it be. If you're interested in having me record it, I guess let me know. I could figure out how to make that happen. It's just a small presentation, but yeah, it should be fun. Anyway, thanks. I'll see you in the next video.